Greetings, welcome to Mind Over Number. I'm Kronda, a spiritual coach, intuitive reader, and numerologist, and I wanted to share a concept that I've been playing a lot with in my head. Um, it's been difficult trying to format the words, trying to figure out how to, put it together, but we're just gonna run with it and see what we come up with. Now I use cards and of course to help convey a message as um, clairsentient, which is clear feeling, and claircognizant, which is clear in the knowing. So I receive messages from my own intuition, and I also tune into people's emotions. Classic empath stuff. And when I pick up on these feelings, it's hard to put a word to it. And so the cards help to tell a picture and tell a story about what's going on. And I hope that at some point someone has got some sort of clarity with my messages. They're there for who need it. And if there's anything that you want to see going forward, let me know in the comments. But we're shifting gears in this message as I want to talk more about numbers. It's usually the first step in people's awakening process, right? They start knowing or start noticing what people call angel numbers now, which really wasn't a popular term until the early 90s. Okay, I'm a 90s baby. Coincidence? Not. But people, started getting signs and synchronicities from these double digits, identical digit numbers, 111, 222, 333, what does this mean? These are questions I get asked a lot as well from, various sources, right? And I want to help you understand numbers so that if you see these messages and frequencies, that you get a sort of an idea of what that could mean. When you see these numbers, they're often just confirmation of what's going on in your life. So if you see a bunch of sixes, for instance, that's usually something tied to family or service-oriented tasks, because 6 is the number of service. But the more you add to that number, the different tuning of frequency or message or layers behind the energy start to be revealed. Right, 1 6 is service, but now you have 2 6s that resonates underneath 12 3 energy. So now it's not just about family. Okay, now it could be about needing to change your perspective concerning family, as 12 energy is about relationships, and 1 is about the self, identity, and then 3 is about personal growth and development. So knowing what those individual numbers mean, I then can help people interpret the hidden meaning behind these signs and synchronicities. At the beginning of my awakening, right, I started noticing these numbers, these double digits. I remember I went to a family's party, and on the receipt, it was a bunch of 9s, 6s. There was a bunch of 9s and 6s all over that receipt, and it was more a sign of what was actually going on right there in that moment, to let me know it was something that I was divinely guided to do. Right, it was a fated situation, as everyone who comes into this life has a plan of what they want to do, and a plan of who you want to meet, a plan of certain lessons or experiences that you wanted to take care of in this certain lifetime. And when you reach those points, anything could happen after that. So it's kind of like Mad Libs. You get, a storyline, but there comes certain blank spots where you can pretty much put anything in there because we all have, free will, freedom to choose in this life and after this life. That is the divine gift to you. So I became a numerologist after studying these signs that I was getting for myself in the beginning of my awakening. And then I started to notice that when I did that whole self exploration of, what is my life path? What is my soul urge number? What's my maturity number? What resonates? What doesn't resonate? And a part of me understood the energy of, me. I'm a life path 9, but there was layers behind my energy that weren't being given to me from just, a basic online calculator. And for a lot of people, they don't necessarily resonate with their life path number either, that single digit number, because it's really just the overall or general picture. It's the sum of your experiences. And if you just focus on that single number, you miss out the layers of energy behind it, right? It's like playing an instrument. I'm looking at my guitar right now. One moment. Okay, so I compare numerology to music because everything is frequencies. And if I were to take the number 1, for example, and apply it to the first string on my guitar, the guitar string is 1, but if I were to apply a chord to that first string, it's no longer just the energy of 1 or this first string. I'm also playing 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the chord. And so that single digit life path number is just a single note, it's just a single string. And if you look at the layers behind that energy, you will start to notice that there are layers, chords being played behind that frequency that you may not hear if you're only looking at that single digit. So a lot of times people who are ones actually don't resonate with 1 energy at all, because everyone who's really a life path 1 is some form of another 10 energy. Okay, no one is really just 1. If you are life path 1, it's because 1 is a singularity, and at this point in time, everybody has layers of experience behind them. So if you are 1, you may notice that prior to reduction, your life path falls under 10 energy. And 10 is the number of awareness because it mixes the energy of 1 with the energy of 0, right? And 0 is very receptive, it's very intuitive, it's very receiving, and mixed with the 1 of, independence, you get a different tuning of energy than just 1, which is just, someone who's just being born. But 10 is an energy of someone who has reached a turning point and is ready to see a new perspective after going through several cycles, 1 through 9. And so, in many modern calculators or Western practices, which is the one that's been commercialized, okay, if anyone talks about numerology, they're talking about Western numerology the majority of the time. And Western numerology uses cycles 1 through 9, base 10, mathematics, really to simplify things, but ultimately because 1 through 9 deals with things on the physical plane. The universe or the construct that we live in actually resonates underneath base 12. And many ancient cultures, societies, where we actually get our calendar from in the first place, used base 60 or base 12 math to calculate the rotations of the earth, including astrology, which is why there's 12 zodiac signs. There's 12 hours in the day, 12 hours at night. There's 60 seconds, right, in a minute. There's it's all stems from the core of everything falling underneath the cycles 1 through 11. There is a hidden path to this underneath the value of 13. In actuality, there are 13 months. If you look at the Jewish calendar or Kabbalah teachings, they used a moon calendar. But at some point, we started using a solar calendar. But truly, there are 13 moon cycles, which is why a month is called a month. Now, I wanted to go over this concept of the cycles of 12 that I've been playing around with. So, take whatever information you can from this, and hopefully I explain it clearly enough. But I want to start off with drawing a picture. Okay. Now, because our universe is cycles of 12, right? I'm going to draw a clock. And how you start with a clock is with, 0. And 0 is where everything comes from. All numbers emerge from 0, and a lot of times people think 0 is nothing because it gets treated like nothing when it comes to mathematics. But from an esoteric viewpoint, 0 is potential energy. 0 is what makes everything possible, which is why it is divine energy. It is source energy, and it represents cyclical, right, cycles. And it's not nothing, but it's everything. And math proves it itself. If you were to square 0, right, you end up with 1 because it's not nothing. It's where everything begins. So in the face of this clock, we contain all energies, all numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we start our clock with 12, right? Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes. So that's your basic clock. And all these points end up converging to a hidden point in the middle here, which is that 13th cycle. This is where 13 hits. 13 is transformation energy, right? If you're familiar with tarot, 13 is death and rebirth. It is essentially reincarnation, which is why it's got some superstitious ties to it thanks to the church, because 13 is where people realize that they are in fact all these numbers. You are not just the sum of your experiences. You contain all these energies within you. So when it comes to your life path or your other core numbers, there are layers behind this energy that also needs to be recognized so that you can fully understand yourself. Now, each number is not separate from the other. As you can see, all numbers are interconnected. No number is greater than the other. So, numbers themselves are not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? If you look at numbers linearly, like this, you're missing the picture. Things always move in cycles. Better yet, it's more spirals. This is how things move. It's not up and down, it's waves. Or should I say, it's not really levels, right? It's dimensions and frequencies and sounds that emerge from the same point and eventually come back to that point. So if you are, let's say, life path 1, okay, I'm picking on ones today, but say you are 1 and someone else's life path is 2. That doesn't mean that your frequency is lower or someone is above you or someone has more experience than you, because that 1 is never just 1. The 1 could be a 10, right? That 1 could be 19. That 1 could be 28. Okay, that 1 could be 73 if we were to reduce it to its compound number, which is common with life path numbers, which is why it's usually written with a slash like this. Okay, that was supposed to be a 7. But yeah, so, right, this is how we usually write numbers in numerology. So if we took the sum of someone's birth date and wrote 73, we would end up reducing that down to a 10, not a 1. But in Western practices, they follow cycles of 9, but end up with partial numbers or hidden numbers because they're not calculating the full resonance of energy. And they created an exception to this rule to fit in those higher frequency numbers, such as 11, 22, 33, because those fall into the cycle of base 12, right? So if you look and understand the broader picture, that energy follows a cycle of 12 because that's the universe or the construct that we live in, then you start to get the full picture and not just the physical picture. As we begin the cycle of 1 through 3, we enter 4 different planes of awareness. And the first cycle is, of course, the physical. So 1 through 3. This is where form is created, which makes it the physical plane. We have, a singularity, which is 1. For 2, we have to have 2 points, 2 dimensions, and to create form, you have to have 3. I don't know if you can see that well. I had to turn my light off. But yeah. So 3 points, like a triangle. A triangle is this, smallest shape you can make, because to create form, you need to have 3 points of awareness, length, width, depth, right? 3 dimensions. And 1 through 3 is the physical plane. 4 through 6 is the emotional plane, right? When we remove our focus from the physical, what things look like, that's when we start to tap into our emotions, our feelings, our expression, which is the beginning of this cycle, 3 being the number of creativity. Then we follow up with 4, 5, 6. Okay, then the next plane, of course, after emotional, is going to be mental. And what starts the mental plane? 7 energy. Of course, 7 is the number that seeks answers. It's the one that begins that quest to seek out that 4th plane, which is the spiritual. So, when looking at the cycles of energies, you will note that the bridging energies between these numbers are 12, 3, 6, and 9, with 9 being the bridge between the mental and the spiritual. 6 acts as the bridge between the mental and the emotional. 3 is the bridge between the emotional and the physical. Then 12 bridges the spirit with the physical. And all these converge into 13, which brings on the next level of awareness, rebirth, transformation, next stage, right? And then that cycle doesn't end there. You now have a whole new set of numbers. Okay, so after you transform and understand these basics, you then bring forth 14 energy, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, then 26 hits the middle, then it spirals and cycles into new planes of awareness and frequencies and sounds, and even though this is the foundation, these are the notes being played behind this one. Could be 10, 19, etc., which allows you to play different chords. And all together, you get a full blown symphony of different instruments, different tools, different understandings that are all working together, right? They're not separate. So there's no hierarchy when it comes to the spiritual. All of these numbers have value. So don't let anyone tell you that because they are following this linear level of thinking that you are below them because they've limited their understanding of numbers. So in Western numerology, sometimes certain books will only account for master numbers 11 and 22. That comes from Jewish teachings, because they were focused on that fool's journey, okay, like tarot. Sometimes they will include master number 33. But 44 is also part of the physical cycle until you get into those more spiritually based realms of understanding. You know, master numbers follow 11 through 99. And I can talk about that, some other time. But the point ultimately that I'm trying to make is to get you out of this linear thinking when it comes to numbers. There are not levels to anything. Everything is really just frequencies. And you can tap into these frequencies at any time, right? Just because you hold a dominant 5 energy, that doesn't mean you can't embody the energy of 9 or 22 or 3, because everybody has the capability within them to be 1 energy, which is the leader, be 2 energy, which is connection, partnerships, duality, 3, creative expression, 4, stability, organization, 5 is about knowledge and freedom, 6, service, 7, that is very analytical, spiritually inclined energy, inquisitive. You have 8 energy, which is about power and authority and hard work. 9 is about compassionate energy. It's highly expressive and idealistic. Then you have the number 10. Okay. 10 is when you reach that stage of awareness, right? 9 is that bridge between the mental and spiritual. So once you reach 10, you then become aware of who you were all along, which is 0, source energy. And you begin that path to start something new with that information. That's 11. 11 is the number of enlightenment, the number of truth, the number of authenticity. Then you enter 12, which is, the next phase where you put yourself in a stage to get ready to become something new, which is 13 energy. Something else I wanted to add to this video, a little tip, just to share with you, because a lot of times people think we follow cycles of 10 because we have 10 fingers, right? But before that, people even use the space in between their fingers to count. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is base 8 mathematics. Okay, this is part of why other numerology practices use numbers 1 through 7. But at some point, we started counting with 10. But even prior to using the in-between spaces, we actually use the in-between spaces of our fingers to count. So this first indent of our finger, that would be indicated of 1. And the thumb was used as a pointer, or the next phase. So people would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so after discovering this for myself, this is a trick that I use to remember the alphanumeric system of, Pythagorean principles, because A is 1, 2 is B, and then you go all the way down to Z, which is 26. So we have the ability to count all the way up to 26 using our hands, which is what ancient cultures did, like Sumeria, Egyptian, Mesopotamia. So if I want to remember what frequency the letter P is under, I just count A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And P falls here. So I already counted 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that lets me know P is 16. Hopefully I explained that clearly enough, and you can apply that whenever you are deciphering your name using the English alphabet. All right. That's where I'm going to leave this video. Always take what resonates with you. May this help you or guide you in some way. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll get more in depth to each individual number in other videos. So until next time, thank you. Doodles.